Khordae Syndor and Jeremiah Dillon will be the most impactful transfers in 2024.
You are Locked On Vandy, your daily podcast on the Vanderbilt Commodores, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Corey Burton. Today I examine why Khordae Syndor will be the most impactful transfer on defense and why Jeremiah Dillon will make a huge impact on offense. Also, Vandy commit for 2025, Carson Lawrence visited last week. He noticed a huge difference in the way Vanderbilt gets down. Lastly, Vandy Boys offense absolutely explodes as they blast the Blue Raiders 14-1. Very exciting as they head into their series with Texas A&M. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Shout out to the everydayers. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use Locked On College. Use code Locked On College for $20 off of your first purchase. Khordae Syndor. Okay, that's a name that you've heard a lot of since he transferred over from Purdue in early January. And he is somebody you should continue to watch out for as he is making massive ripples in practice. And he's going to continue to do so in the fall. So one thing that he's been in practice has been a disruptor. And he's somebody that when you read the headlines that the offensive line is struggling, it's because they can't block him amongst others, but like they can't contain him. And he's become somewhat of a vocal leader as well. He's kind of stepped up a little bit. He's kind of that veteran guy that had a lot of experience at Purdue, comes over to this defense and is absolutely making an impact. And one of the things you really, really enjoy with that, one of the things you love about that is he's a big guy, big edge guy, really stout against the run, moves well, and also gets after the passer. And I think when Clark Lee is evaluating this defense, and I said it from day one, watching him at Notre Dame and seeing how he controls the defense, seeing how he calls the defense, he likes guys that can move. He likes guys that are versatile. He likes guys that can do a lot of different things. And so with Khordae Syndor, he gets exactly that. And he will make a huge impact because, again, it's not just one thing. He's not just a pass rush specialist. He's not just this. He's not just that. He's all of that. And he might end up being the leader not only of that front seven, that defensive line unit or outside linebacker unit, but of the entire defense. And he's somebody that is, he's a juice guy, and everybody loves a juice guy. Everybody loves the guy that brings the energy. And so it's refreshing, I guess you could say, or it's exciting, or you as a fan, you sit there and you watch this defense and you have confidence that, okay, well, it's third and 7. Syndor's going to make a play. He's our guy. He's going to make a play. Like, as a fan, you're sitting there going, okay, come on, Syndor. And I think he's going to wear 96 like he did at Purdue. But so you're going to say, all right, 96, let's go. Come on. And then boom, you're rooting for him out there as he makes the sack. As a player, that, like, and I think sometimes players get caught in this trap too. Before I make that point, of they don't necessarily trust that the other guy's going to make the play. So a lot of times when you see defensive breakdowns, it's because somebody is trying to play hero ball and do someone else's job in addition to his job, and it ends up creating a big gap. Well, with Syndor especially, I think you're going to see that trust that's built. Okay, well Khordae is there. He's going to do his job, and he's going to hold all of us accountable. So we got to do our job, and we can't try to do his job, and we can't try to do this other guy's job. We can't try to do the linebacker's job, and the linebackers can't try to do the safety's jobs, and the corners, they're out there on an island anyway. So they got a job to do anyway. They're not really influenced by anything else. But I really I really like this transfer of Khordae Syndor. I think he's going to be a tremendous leader. He's going to be an impact player. I think he's going to be somebody that you will know very, very, very soon as a Vanderbilt football player. And this was a transfer that was an early transfer that was absolutely amazing, and no doubt part of the overhaul, and no doubt benefiting from the overhaul and the coaching staff. So kudos to them for landing him, and we'll see just how he does. And he's one of the reasons why I think this defense is going to be really, really good. So Khordae Syndor will make a massive impact come this fall. So talking on yesterday's episode about the offense, why you shouldn't worry. Well, quarterback play is just definitely not settled. To me, I don't know that they have the right quarterback. The offensive line is definitely not settled. They have their struggles with communication. They have some things that they're working through. But, honestly, and looking back at all the recaps from this past Saturday's scrimmage, and a little bit from today, I think there are more bright spots than I think people realize. Okay. So, Clark Lee mentioned that the offense on their first series kind of moved the ball and gave you like a very small glimpse of what their identity is going to be and what they're going to be good at. And so that kind of makes you feel good. But part of that is Jeremiah Dillon he scored in the scrimmage. Okay. And we're talking about transfers. So there was a lot of great things, Quincy Skinner, Cole Spence has been kind of like of the skill guys. That's been kind of the two that have been talked about and discussed the most. Quincy Skinner is just kind of a do everything, tough catch over the middle, runs a shallow route, gets yak, can block in the screen game, can do everything you need to do as a wide receiver, especially dangerous in the intermediate zones and the intermediate ranges and the short ranges. And somebody you should most definitely watch out for. But he's not a transfer. The transfer that you should watch out for on offense is now I think when he committed, I think all eyes were on Nate Johnson. But honestly, I think people are kind of overlooking Jeremiah Dillon. And I had Stephen Willis on from Locked On Ole Miss. Shout out to Locked On Ole Miss. We talked about what Jeremiah Dillon brings to the table, and what that is speed, explosiveness, somebody that can stretch the field vertically. And so if you've got a guy that can do that, I think there's some things that you can do offensively that will take some pressure off that takes a lot of pressure off your offensive line. Okay. That opens up things for like Junior Sherrill and Quincy Skinner in the middle and on the intermediate outside. That opens up RPO stuff because I think you could run slants with them. I think you can run some things, those glance routes, those third level RPO reads. I think that opens that up. We'll see kind of if Pavia can get to that point as far as being able to command that, or whoever's at quarterback can be able to read that out and deliver the ball third level RPO reading a safety. And I think Jeremiah Dillon is the perfect guy for that. He's somebody that is described as smooth. He's a smooth athlete. He's fast and doesn't look fast. It's effortless almost. That's what that means. When you hear somebody describe an athlete as smooth, that means they are fast and they're looking like they're on a Sunday jog, man. And that's something you got to have, because that is truly, truly a threat. That is truly scary as a defensive coordinator. You've got to figure out how the heck am I going to defend that? And do I need to commit a safety over the top? What do I need to do to stop Jeremiah Dillon? Part of that is getting to the quarterback, but having things like that allows you to make big plays. And when you make big plays, that can ignite your offense. And when you get your offense ignited, now your defense gets excited. And when that happens, you have two sides of the ball playing complementary football. And the next thing you know, you're in position to possibly win a game. maybe win a game you're not supposed to on paper. Say Kentucky on the road, or or say Alabama. Not saying they're going to beat Alabama, but that's just an example. But it's something that I think that's important, that when they were looking in the portal for wide receiver targets, I think that was probably the number one trait that they really liked about him, was that he is a nice vertical threat, something that, well, now at the time, that they were sorely missing. And that's something they certainly got. They got their downfield threat. They have their two guys that kind of navigate all over the field, and then they have their big target reception guy in Loic Fouonji. And so I think they've got their receiving core built a certain way. No superstars. These guys can emerge as stars, but they have no superstars, and that's okay. They have extremely dynamic role players, and I think having that deep threat kind of ties all of that together and kind of makes it all fit, because you don't have to rely on Junior Sherrill to win one-on-ones out on the perimeter all the time. You have a guy that can do that with explosive speed in Jeremiah Dillon. You don't have to have those guys like Quincy Skinner be able to run post after post after post to get you a big play, or you don't have to count on him to break 3 tackles to take it to the house. You've got a guy that can take the lid off the defense. It stretches things out vertically and provides a lot of room in there for Skinner and Sherrill to feast. And so having that, and I think a lot of people mistake that for, okay, well, he's going to take targets away from them but it actually doesn't. Dillon gets his yards and his feeds and his catches, and then Skinner, Sherrill get their catches, and then Fouonji gets his catches, and then Cole Spence gets in there too. And you've got guys that, you've got a dynamic offense now with guys playing certain roles. And when you have that, it's called harmony. The run game works. Then your offensive line is sitting there not having to block for 5 seconds while your quarterback takes a equivalent of a 7-step drop and reads full field stuff. I mean, I think it opens up a lot of things for your offense. I think it makes you less predictable. So being able to do that kind of thing helps. That's why he's the most impactful transfer on offense, because his vertical threat makes everything else in play, makes everything else simpler, opens up the rest of the field. Just by being able to stretch it vertically, you open windows. And so I like it. I like it a lot. So Carson Lawrence, 2025 commit, visited practice too, and he kind of saw some things as well. Can't wait to discuss this one. I'm excited by what he discovered during his visit last week. All right, this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Who doesn't love FanDuel? Okay, it's playoff time in the NBA and the NHL. Baseball's in full swing, and FanDuel is your best place to bet on every game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets, guaranteed. That's $150, win or lose. Bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, and all on an app that is safe, secure, and easy to use. What are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. Hey, welcome back. We are in segment number 2. Are you tired of all of that screaming that happens when you watch ESPN and Fox Sports? Is that what you're watching? Do you constantly just find yourself having to turn the volume down to all the shouting? Like you're just done with it? Well, if you are, if the answer is yes, then make the switch to Locked On Sports today. It's a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So Carson Lawrence, 2025 safety from Oklahoma, made another visit. He made a visit to junior days back in February, and really enjoyed his visit and really kind of his relationship with Coach Rice was starting to blossom because Coach Rice was brand new. He was formerly the co-defensive coordinator at New Mexico State under Jerry Kill. Obviously was probably recommended by Jerry Kill to hire for a vacant safety spot. And so here he is. And he made some inroads almost immediately with Carson Lawrence, who that was probably one of the first. Carson Lawrence is not from Oklahoma, by the way. He's from McCallie. But he definitely made, Coach Rice definitely made an impact there almost immediately with this commit from Chattanooga. I don't know why I said Oklahoma. There was somebody else from Oklahoma. It was the running back that decommitted. Carson Lawrence did not decommit. So he visited on Thursday, and he was impressed with what he saw at practice. And so that's got to make you feel better, okay? Because, like, normally it's just kind of like boring recruit speak, like, oh, yeah, the visit was great. The practice was fun, the atmosphere. And you get kind of the answer, and you can tell when a recruit is trying to say the right thing but really says nothing at all because they're trying so hard to be positive, and they're just like, yeah, like the atmosphere, the city was nice, and the coaches were awesome, I really, but you get sometimes you get a real keeping it real answer, and they give you some details, right? And what Lawrence mentioned was he liked how the practice was more competitive and there was more talented guys. That was his quote, according to an article in the VandySports.com. He mentions that Coach Rice is definitely a great teacher and wants to see you have success. So that's got to be extremely promising when you look at kind of things in the whole. Now, Lawrence has a lot of other offers, and he has some other visits planned, and so he's definitely going to see kind of what's out there. But I think being able to have that kind of showing and have that kind of practice where everything's a competition, it's fierce. It's, hey, you're putting the ringer every single time you step out there. You've got coaches that care about you, that are really good teachers of the game. I think all of that he's alluding to just means that, like, he will, you feel comfortable. And the guys that you actually want like competitive stuff. They like competing. They don't want to be handed. They don't want to be handed jobs. They don't want to be handed anything. They want to go out there, compete against the best of the best, because they know deep down that if they want to make it to the NFL or have a chance to make it to the NFL, that's how it's got to be. And so that's a very promising statement, both for his chances at signing with Vandy, because he's an in-state guy, and also succeeding within the system and knowing that the overhaul, there's some merit to it being something that's successful, right? Means, in other words, means it's kind of working, right? You're getting the desired result. The strength and conditioning program, all you heard all offseason was how grueling it was, how much everybody hated it. And when people say they hate the strength and conditioning program, that's when you know it's working, because it is supposed to suck. Okay. And they appreciate it. They don't hate it like they want to quit, but they hate it as in, like, oh God, like, oh, we're so dead. We're so drained. This is going to, but they know that it is vastly important, and they appreciate Coach Steiner and what he brings to the table. So you had that phase of it, right? I think it was important for Coach Rice to immediately make that impact with Lawrence, because that shows that they're hungry. They're like, hey, we want you. We need you. You are going to be an important piece to it. And having Dante Carter play as a freshman will also help, because they're showing how important the safety position is. They're showing that just because you're a freshman, doesn't mean you're just going to automatically redshirt or, that the whole notion of like, I'm not going to play my freshman. No, if they say freshmen have a chance to play and have a chance to compete, they mean it. And Dante Carter playing will prove that. And also in Clark Lea's defense, the safety is an extremely important position. And Lawrence probably knows that now. Sitting in on meetings, seeing all the details around practice and seeing everything and how it was run, he knows. He knows what that safety position looks like in that kind of defense, which goes to show you that they have an identity now, which is what they were which is what they've been missing they've been missing all of last year. They gained a little bit of one 2 seasons ago, but lost their way. But he overhauled it, woke up, snapped to, and it looks like they're heading in the right direction, and they're making the impressions that they need to make on these recruits. And you're starting to see more names pop up, and that's very much credit to Harding Harper too, which was an absolute grand slam hire right there. Just in that, love that hire for Vandy, and I'm excited about what he can do in helping the recruiting. And you're already seeing the impact. There's more guys talking about Vandy, which never happens. So Carson Lawrence, if you hear this, come to Vandy. Vandy. You want Vandy. Virginia Tech. You don't want Virginia Tech. We're going to beat Virginia Tech. You don't want Miami, West Virginia. You don't want those schools. Stay home. Go to Vandy. You're wanted there. You're going to develop under these guys. So go to Vandy. You want to do it. So very impressive. Very impressive. Impressive comments too. Sometimes you just don't get guys that are genuine as far as being able to they just want to say what they want to say and just kind of get out of the way. So that's something that is it's going to be fun. So Vandy boys played against MTSU. I don't know if you'd call it played, but there was certainly a baseball game that happened, and they blasted the Blue Raiders 14-1. We'll talk about that. Stay tuned, though. Before we get into that dismantling, have you ever had a negative ticket buying experience? Maybe you tried to buy tickets to the Vandy boys game against MTSU, and it just wasn't working out for you. Well, Gametime is now authorized. It's now an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Imagine trying to go to a Twins game, and you can't. Well, now you can with Gametime. Prices on Gametime app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and the lowest price guarantee, Gametime takes all the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. So my favorite features, and I think this will be yours too, one of my favorite features, and this might be just because I'm kind of a tech nerd and I'm just in awe of how they do this, but they have views from every seat in the venue. So let's say you get section 309, row H, seat 8. You can click that, and it's going to show you exactly what you're going to see, right? And I don't know how they pull it off, but I love that. So there's a lot of other great things that I like too, but that's probably, as a tech nerd, that's probably one of my favorite features there. But they have priority last minute deals, which allows you to save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, or whatever. They have flash deals. Save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of a game or an event. Zone deals. This is really cool. You choose the section. Gametime chooses the seats. There's some more discounts there. All-in prices. So you can, if you click that on, it shows you the total up front. There's no surprise fees at checkout. What you see is what you get. As I said, the seat views, you get a panoramic view from your seat. Lowest price guarantee. If you find tickets cheaper, Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. Game time ticket coverage means your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So what you need to do, take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, welcome back. We got a few minutes here. We're going to wrap this thing up here on the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks for making us part of your listening experience. Make sure you check on Locked On SEC right up next, and follow the Coach Calipari's and the Kentucky saga. Right, Coach Calipari leaves for Arkansas. Who is Kentucky going to hire? Well, make sure Locked On SEC has got you covered on that. This is Vanderbilt hired Mark Byington. That's who we hired for our coach when Stackhouse was let go. So we got our guy, and he's going to be active in the portal. But we'll talk more about that. There's some targets that I really like that I think they should go after. That will make a massive, massive difference on this basketball team if they can land them. And I think the last time I talked about a transfer target, they didn't land him. So I'm kind of leery of that. Anyway, Vandy boys, they absolutely, and I got a little bit of alliteration here, blast the Blue Raiders 14-1. So if you were worried about the Bats, worry no more. They absolutely left no doubt with MTSU, and they ended this game in the run rule in the seventh inning, which I think it's 10 after 7 or something like that. Anyway, well, I don't think it's a matter of who hit well. I think it's a matter of probably who didn't hit well, and I'm not sure there was anybody that didn't hit well because you have Davis Diaz, who drove in 2 runs with the double off the green monster in left field. This was in the first inning, 7-run first inning. RJ Austin drove in 2. Braden Holcomb, Logan Poteet, and Jonathan Vastine also picked up RBI. They also drove some guys in. So a massive first inning where I think everyone either got on base and scored or drove in people. It was awesome from the start. Then Poteet poured some more on in the third. Vastine brought in Holcomb, made it 9-1. Austin, he drove in another, and Calvin Hewitt scored, and Holcomb continues to absolutely destroy the baseball. I think, I think they pulled some fans out of the stands, and they hit the ball as well. I think it was very easy for J.D. Thompson today as he got his start. It's his first start since being banged up, so it's good to see him get back out there. But pitching was not the story here because, well, anybody could have pitched. I think Tim Corbin could have went out there and pitched and would have gotten this win because I don't think that Vanderbilt was going to let up. So this was absolutely amazing. This was something that needs to happen. I think getting this good momentum, this good, this good juju before heading to College Station is important. Getting this confidence boost before heading into College Station is awesome because it's going to be tough sledding out there. And so being able to hit like this and being able to hit in situations, score every different type of way, drive the baseball into the gaps, and actually just have plate approach is good for the development of this baseball team because at some point there's going to be games down the road this weekend and beyond that they're going to have to overcome bad pitching, where this game was not one of those where they had to overcome bad pitching. But at some point there's going to be a situation where they're just going to have to score a bunch of runs to win a game. And it's not going to be one of those you can score 3 runs and win a game because your pitcher is just dealing. You're going to have to go out there and really just drive the baseball around the park and score guys. And they don't have a ton of guys that can lift it out of the yard. They have a few, but I don't think they have enough to play kind of that college baseball gorilla ball that people like to talk about, where it's just dinger after dinger after dinger. They have to get guys around. They have to put the ball in gaps and run, and they've got a fast lineup to be able to do so. They just got to do so more consistently, and doing that. In doing that, it forces you to be disciplined at the plate, and it forces you to make these pitchers go deep into counts, things like that. So 14-1 victory, even though it was MTSU, it's nothing to scoff at. It's nothing to sneeze at. And I think I got that saying right. And I think it gives them great preparation for what they need to expect heading into College Station this weekend. So we'll have more of that, more spring football talk, more some basketball transfer portal news, hopefully, and we'll continue this train rolling as we get towards the weekend. We got 2 more this week before we get you off into a weekend. But until then, we're going to see you. I hope you had a great hump day. Hope you have a great hump day. And we'll talk at you tomorrow, and we'll keep this train rolling, man. But until then, make sure you behave yourselves, and make sure you anchor down. Peace.